ought to vote. You ought to vote. I voted in every election since I've been old enough to vote. I just figure if dead people in Chicago can vote, why shouldn't I? Amen. But you ought to vote. We are blessed to live in the United States of America. If you just study a little bit of history, you know that we have something that no other civilization has ever known. We've been blessed with that. And so when you enter into the shark-infested waters of talking about voting, somebody's going to get mad. There's no doubt somebody's going to get sideways. I understand that. What I'm concerned about is how should a Christian vote? Now, did you get that? How? Not necessarily who you should vote for, but how you should vote. You see, if you take some of the personality out of it, because you might not like that person's personality. A lot of people don't like certain people's personalities. There's people that don't like my personality. But if you can take the personality out of it and say, okay, what does the person stand for? Then you're not voting necessarily for an individual. You're voting for what you believe. And I think that that's good. You say you shouldn't mention politics in the church. Well, I'm sorry, but the church has been asleep way too long. And a lot of the issues we're dealing with right now are because the church did not speak up and say something when there was more of an opportunity to do so. We are a constitutionally federated republic. That means that the powers that be in this country come from us. Now, what a blessing. Billions of people that have been born could not say that the powers that be that they are under come from them. Yet we have that privilege. Oh, to whom much is given, much is required. And so we live in a day and age where the culture is affecting the church when the church should be affecting the culture. And let me go a step further. There are people that are outside of the church taking a stronger stand than people inside the church are taking on important issues, putting us to shame, friend. And so I just believe that it should be not who you vote for so much as how you vote. Take the personality out of it. What do they stand for? Now, I hope if you're saved, if you're born again, you'll agree with me that the Bible has the answers to all of life's problems. If someone came to me and wanted some counsel and had some individual problems going on, maybe they were head over heels in debt, all of these problems, I would open up my Bible. I'd open up this Bible right here, and I would show them biblical principles to help them get their individual life straightened out. If somebody came to me with family problems, maybe a husband and wife that are at each other's throat, okay, they didn't get, you think that they got married by the justice of the peace, but really it was the Secretary of War that married them. And now they're ready to split up, and they come to the preacher, finally come to the preacher. And the preacher, I would open up this same Bible and I would say, here's the answer. Here's divine answers to your problems. If there was a problem in our church in Chicago, if the church was just going haywire and all kinds of bickering and fussing and contention, I would open up this Bible and say, here's the answer. Amen. Why don't we do that with our nation? Amen. Yes. The same Bible that has the answers to individual problems and family problems and marriage problems and church problems has the answers to the problems of a nation. Amen. And so we need to look at that person, look past their personality and see where do they stand on things like abortion. Amen. There's one presidential candidate right now that has moved further and further and further in a pro-life position. I'm not saying he's arrived where we think he ought to arrive, but he's just gone further and further in that direction. And there's another candidate that says late-term abortion, no problem. No problem. You want to kill your baby? No problem. I think we ought to take a look at that. I think we ought to take a look at the fact that the Democratic Party is the party of white supremacy. Go back and do some homework. Do some research and see that it was the Democratic Party that put out a campaign poster in 1856 that said, we are the party that is for the white man. And they mocked the Republican Party as being for the black man. Yeah, and the founders of the Ku Klux Klan were registered Democrats. I could go on and on. But we ought to look at these things. We ought to look at our Second Amendment rights. Now, I'm so glad that I can preach on a Sunday morning without a 45 on. Because they wouldn't let me bring that on the airplane. But normally, locked and loaded. All right, protect the flock with a Glock. That's what I believe. And there's a party that wants to take that out of your hands. And I've got at least one that they don't know about. They'd have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands. You see? But there's a party. The Democratic Party wants to take away your Second Amendment rights. So you ought to be concerned about that. I just feel that if the president can protect his kids with guns, why can't I protect mine with them too? I mean, I love my kids too. Oh, they want to defund the police, the Democratic Party. I agree with Burgess Owens. He said the percentage of good police is much higher than the percentage of good politicians. So what should we really be defunding? Defund the police. Now, understand, I'm born and raised in the city of Chicago. Defund the police? Do you realize what that would do to our country? I mean, you call the police in the middle of the night. Somebody's breaking into my home, and they say, okay, we're going to pray for you right now. Defund the police. There's a party that's for it. There's a party that's against it. Reopen the businesses and schools. I got on the airplane to fly down here to be with you folks, and the airplane was jam-packed. I mean, jam-packed, full of people. Full of people, but churches are empty today. Something's wrong somewhere. So not necessarily who you vote for, but how are you voting?